Have you ever seen someone pause everything right in the middle of a busy workday just to pray? Imagine Adam, an American Muslim observing Ramadan, who refuses to let modern life override his faith. One afternoon, as the window for midday prayer shrank, he slipped onto a sidewalk by the warehouse where he worked and began praying quietly. Nearby, Lauren, a lapsed Christian, noticed him and felt immediate irritation, assuming he was putting on a show. Adam stayed focused, tuning out the passing forklifts and office chatter. Once he finished, Lauren confronted him, asking why he would pray so publicly. Adam explained that his faith required specific prayers at set times, and he had no secluded spot. Lauren retorted that it seemed like a performance. Tension crackled. She saw his devotion as a needless display. He saw it as a sacred duty. Suddenly, a red sedan screeched into the lot, lost control, and lurched onto the sidewalk. Lauren, distracted by anger, stood directly in its path. Adam lunged and yanked her aside, just as the car roared past, missing her by inches before slamming into a traffic sign. Stunned, she realized the man she'd insulted had just saved her life. Paramedics arrived, checking both for injuries. Apart from shock, Lauren was fine. Adam was shaken, but unhurt. A small crowd formed around the crumpled sedan. Some bystanders took pictures. Others merely stared, trying to grasp what had happened. Lauren felt her heart hammering against her ribs, not only from the near collision, but also from the guilt of how she had treated Adam seconds before he rescued her. When an officer asked them to recount events, she listened to Adam's calm explanation, struck by how he never mentioned her hostile remarks. As Lauren gathered her wits, remorse overwhelmed her. Only minutes earlier, she'd belittled his prayer. Now he'd risked himself to protect her. She thanked him in a trembling voice, unsure how to reconcile her scorn with his compassion. Adam shrugged, insisting anyone should do the same in that situation. The surrounding onlookers whispered among themselves, some clearly stunned that the praying guy had become a hero. At that point, Lauren realized how deeply she had misjudged him. They exchanged phone numbers almost awkwardly. Lauren felt compelled to thank him properly, and Adam couldn't refuse. That evening, she replayed the incident, fixating on how her prejudice had dissolved in a burst of squealing tires. She texted Adam an apology, admitting she judged him unfairly. He replied kindly, grateful she was safe. Curious, Lauren read up on Ramadan. She learned how fasting and set prayer times formed a disciplined structure for many Muslims. What she once called attention-seeking now appeared to be a sincere act of worship. Meanwhile, Adam returned to his warehouse routine, reflecting on the fine line between normalcy and disaster. Her near miss reminded him that kindness could eclipse any misunderstandings, and he prayed with renewed gratitude the following day. In time, they met for coffee, both wanting to bridge the gap that had opened and closed so dramatically. Over steaming cups, Lauren confessed she'd grown cynical about religion, drifting from the Christian faith of her childhood. Adam explained that praying publicly was never about showing off. It was about fulfilling a core obligation. He added that if he missed a prayer window, it felt like neglecting an essential part of his day. She admitted she hadn't realized how important those time-bound practices were, especially during Ramadan. Word spread at the warehouse that Adam had saved someone who'd taunted him. Colleagues offered quiet praise, though he brushed it aside, content to focus on his tasks. Lauren wrestled with her shame privately, but found relief in Adam's forgiving nature. Their phone conversations turned thoughtful. She asked about fasting, how he managed thirst and hunger on the job, and he spoke of patience and empathy. She saw parallels to Christian ideas she once cherished, but had set aside. Gradually, they found a surprising friendship. She dropped her mocking tone. He answered questions with warmth. In moments of reflection, Lauren recognized that true faith could unite rather than divide, if rooted in genuine compassion. For Adam, her eagerness to learn confirmed that small gestures of mercy could break down walls of prejudice. He believed his prayer had placed him in the right spot to save her at the crucial moment. They often recalled the squeal of tires and the crash of metal. Lauren still shuddered at how close she'd come to tragedy. For Adam, the incident was a vivid demonstration that empathy meant acting without hesitation, even for someone who showed hostility. Their shared memory became a reminder that the differences keeping people apart could vanish in a flash of crisis. As Ramadan continued, Adam invited Lauren to explore its deeper spiritual dimensions: gratitude for blessings, cultivating inner discipline, and remembering the less fortunate. She discovered echoes of those themes in her own tradition, recalling sermons about love and humility. She realized cynicism had blinded her to the universal call for compassion. Each time she thought back to that sidewalk, the memory pricked her conscience, but also stirred a new respect for devotion in any form. Though they lived separate lives, they stayed in touch. Sometimes Lauren updated Adam on her renewed efforts to pray, albeit privately. She found that gratitude-focused prayer eased her lingering doubts. Adam, in turn, felt more determined to maintain a patient outlook at work and in public spaces. Their bond remained understated but genuine, reminding them both that people can transcend stereotypes. Neither forgot that day on the sidewalk. Lauren, once so quick to sneer, now viewed Adam's prayers with a sense of reverence. She understood it wasn't about drawing attention, but about nurturing an ever-present connection to God. Whenever she remembered her scorn, she cringed, yet felt grateful for how far she'd come. For Adam, the memory fortified his belief that faith is tested in real-life encounters, not just within worship spaces. Rescuing Lauren felt like a natural outflow of the teachings on mercy he'd grown up with. In each bow and prostration, he found renewed conviction that belief must translate into compassionate deeds. They continued to meet occasionally, discussing theology or sharing updates on work. The accident, though frightening, had opened a channel of understanding between them. Lauren realized that religion, often derided, still held immense power to inspire good when approached with sincerity. She saw it in Adam's instantaneous move to protect her, an action that, in her words, spoke louder than any sermon. At Ramadan's end, Lauren messaged Adam with well wishes for Eid. He thanked her, touched by her sincerity. Neither believed they had solved all interfaith misunderstandings, but they had bridged their own. Whenever Lauren revisited the day of the accident, she found it incredible that mere minutes separated her insults from Adam's life-saving gesture. A single moment had shattered her assumptions more effectively than any prolonged debate could have. Time passed, yet they remained on friendly terms. Lauren no longer balked when Adam excused himself to pray. Sometimes she noticed him slipping out during a break, returning a few minutes later looking calm and refreshed. She found herself admiring how seamlessly he balanced spiritual duties with everyday demands. Adam, for his part, stopped worrying about sideways glances. He knew from experience that some skeptics, like Lauren, could be open to change. Their story spread quietly beyond the warehouse. A neighbor who heard about the incident told Lauren it gave him hope that people of different faiths could unite under shared principles of kindness. Another coworker confided in Adam, saying he was moved by how calmly he'd responded to mockery. These small ripples of influence reminded them both that acts of compassion rarely stop with those directly involved. Neither Lauren nor Adam romanticized their bond as something extraordinary. In a society prone to snap judgments, they stood as proof that empathy could trump division. One sidewalk prayer became the setting for a rescue that bound them together in a permanent way. If asked about the incident, Lauren freely admitted she misjudged a moment of devotion as showmanship. Adam reiterated he did only what conscience demanded. Saving someone from harm was never optional. Yet beneath those modest explanations lay a truth neither could ignore. Sometimes it takes a near-death crisis to reveal the humanity we overlook. Scorn had dissolved into gratitude, and condemnation into understanding. Where once Lauren saw a nuisance, she now saw devotion. Where once Adam faced ridicule, he answered with mercy. In that space, between judgment and empathy, a bond formed, illustrating how quickly hearts can change when compassion steps in. The memory of squealing tires and a prayer mat on concrete remained a testament to the power of faith in everyday life. Even now, Lauren occasionally sees Adam pausing for prayer by a quiet wall or a vacant corner. She no longer questions his motives. Instead, she recalls how that prayer time once sparked her anger, only to become the backdrop for a selfless act. Her journey since that day has been one of unlearning prejudice, rediscovering the soul of her own faith, and accepting that devotion, no matter the form, can inspire profound moments of grace. For Adam, each prayer carries a renewed sense of responsibility. He understands that what happened with Lauren was more than a random event. It symbolized the real impact of living by principles of patience and compassion. When he kneels, he remembers how swiftly life can change, and how a merciful reaction in one instant can override years of misunderstanding. In a world often polarized by superficial differences, Adam and Lauren's story remains a quiet testament to the possibility of harmony. Neither claims to be perfect. They simply crossed paths on a fateful afternoon, minutes apart from scorn and rescue. Their shared story proved that sometimes all it takes is one moment of crisis and one gesture of kindness to transform scorn into empathy and alter two lives forever.